Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Mall Street Journal, the American Rugby Pod, that brings you all the latest news and reviews for the MLR, the WER, the women's and men's Eagles, and whatever else we can find as we cast our eyes across the USA rugby landscape. My name is David Lawrence. I'm thrilled to kick off this brand new show featuring two fantastic co-hosts, starting with the incredible Rugby Julia. Julia, how the heck are you? It's been a while.
Hi, David. I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy we figured out a way to get a USA podcast going. I'm thrilled we have another host. I'm stoked. I'm doing as well as you can when you're in the USA.
So, as she just alluded to, we've also got the lovely Nick from Texas. Nick, I was privately hoping to call you Lone Star Nick because it just sounds like an awesome movie character. But as we chatted before coming on the air, I think we landed on Kolya. Will that work?
Yeah, that'll work. Glad to be here. Happy we have a rugby podcast that is for and by the fans.
That's right. And I'm just excited to have people who have, 1,000 times more insight than I do because we're heading towards a couple of World Cups. There's things happening in USA Rugby right now, and it's the prime time to talk about it. This is our first time together, so we'll naturally be figuring things out as we go. The obvious place to start is our backgrounds. Kolya, you're a coach and a former player, but tell us about that. What's your rugby journey been like?
Great. So I started rugby in high school with a team that was connected to the high school but wasn't sanctioned by the high school. We
Very American.
We won a state championship. Then we got second in state the next year. And after I graduated, the school decided that it would finally sanction it. Went to LSU, played there for a game before I started getting these terrible migraines where the world started turning purple, which did fit going to LSU.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it the school color?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then went to a neurologist who said, you should probably stop playing rugby. So had to stop playing and decided that I needed to do something with the game because I'd absolutely fallen in love with the game. So
I love that.
I became a ref, started up in Philadelphia with the East Penn Rugby Society, then moved to Wales for 3 years and was reffing with the Welsh Rugby Union before moving over to Texas.
The most successful organization in the history of sorry.
Which one?
The most organization in rugby.
Yes.
That's amazing. How do you stay fit to be a ref? It's like I look at those refs and I think, oh God, even that's too much work for me.
You do the cat roach plan.
Yeah.
You run a lot.
You could be cat. There's a lot of running. I coach several sports as we alluded to. I coach middle school soccer and I coach middle school sevens rugby.
Wow.
Fantastic.
There's
I didn't know they had the middle schoolers playing sevens. That's so smart.
Middle school sevens.
That's so smart to get people into the game.
Yes.
I really like that.
Yeah. And this past weekend, I'll get into it later, I saw a couple of the teams from the league I created here in South Texas playing at a grassroots tournament at the high school level. So the middle schoolers have graduated up to high school and have...
That is so cool.
That's fantastic.
Wow. Well, Julia, I already know quite a bit about your own journey, but for new listeners, which we've probably got plenty of, tell us about your rugby journey. It's led you all over the world. You've got some amazing pit stops along your journey.
I do. So my journey started actually watching rugby from afar. My mom was raised in Europe, went to school in the UK. As a teenager, I got to go over for a few summers and watched rugby. Didn't really get to play much. I was just kind of around, not like I knew anybody. Came back to America, obviously, kind of exposing my age. There was definitely no youth anything at that time for boys or girls. Definitely not for girls. The earliest that you could do at that time was college. Time passed as it did. I started playing immediately when I got to university, down in another region of Virginia. That school didn't work out, but I made a lot of contacts, ended up at the school that I ended up going for my whole career at Virginia Commonwealth University, played my whole career there. My senior year, got super injured, got into coaching at the University of Richmond.
Super injured? What do you mean? What happened?
I got compartment syndrome in both of my calves in a really, really, really silly bad scrum accident. A scrum accident, as it happens. My toes got locked into the ground and the rest of me expanded. And I got traumatic compartment syndrome in both calves. And there is a surgery for
compartment syndrome doesn't sound like something that would be that bad. It kind of sounds like
it's that bad.
You're a fussy packer.
And then I cannot stress enough, do not look it up on Google Images. Yeah, so your muscles are in a fascia, which is a casing. It's like a baked potato. When you work out, the way that you grow your muscle is that fiber expands and contracts over and over. If you tear it irreparably, your muscle pops out a little bit. And that's compartment syndrome.
And so grows an eye.
And it grows an eye, and it gets a new name, and then you have to claim it on your taxes. So that happened. I started coaching at U of R. I really liked it. Graduated. I did know that I had a little bit of time left in my legs after healing.
Nice.
So I went and played a season and a bit over in Australia. I just got lucky knowing some folks. Ended up playing in Australia over the period that I was playing in university. I got to also play in Canada, which was a lot of fun. I got to tour Canada with a team that could roughly be called a rugby team, mostly a drinking team that also played rugby. And yeah, from there. So overall, UK, Canada, Australia, would have really liked it to be more, but since then have been helping sites like YSC, which used to be your Scrum Half Connection. Yep. Our buddy Wendy Young, I was really lucky to get to write a little bit there. Scrum Queens, which is now defunct as well. Got to do a bit with that, and from there, definitely been a fan and a talker. And now I get and now people keep inviting me on podcasts for some reason.
Well, my own tale is one of viewership alone. I've never played a single minute of the game. It's just something I've discovered.
We have to decide where you really would play. We have to decide the position that you would play one day.
I've actually asked people about this, and my eyes are so bad.
What are your strengths?
Watching
when you are active. Okay, watching. So that's the front row.
So I don't think if I wasn't wearing my glasses that I could play, because I wouldn't see the ball coming. I wouldn't see somebody very close to me.
No.
Like somebody once told me, "Oh, you would just hit breakdowns all day long," and I was like, "Yeah, but I'd have to find the breakdown." So it's unknown.
So the vision is that bad you can't even just follow the ball. Just so now.
I wouldn't count on it.
What's your height?
Yeah, how tall are you? How tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Okay, do you have a fast sprint?
No.
No. Do you have explosive? So no explosive speed?
No.
You're in the front row, baby. You're in the front row. I'm sorry. You're coming with me.
There are shorter people than me in the front row. I've learned.
Okay, but you have to. It's true. But in the front row, you only have to see
losing weight instead of gaining weight. So I don't know if I'm heading in the right direction. So.
The weight is all in the muscle. We'll talk.
So.
Oh, I didn't get to ask Kolya. What position did you play before the bonks?
Oh yeah.
So in high school, due to it being unsanctioned and us having coaches who kind of
letting us do whatever we want.
I switched between, or my first couple years, I switched between lock and wing.
As you do. A lot of people are crossover lock wings.
Yes. And then my final year, I was playing lock wing for the A team, and then we had enough people to be on a B team, and I got to be captain of that for about half the matches, where they put me at either scrum half or fly half.
They said you're okay, but you're not that great.
So I'd be at both.
Yeah.
You're basically in charge of the whole thing.
That's okay. I started off at scrum half because they're like, you're a real nerd about this stuff. And I was like, yeah. And then they were like, you're slow and like not great in the body. We're going to probably pop you right in the front row. And I never left.
Well, before we started recording, I had a chance to talk with Lee Calvert earlier from the Blood Mud podcast, one of my favorites. And as a loyal subscriber of his, I got my name read out where he invents, your rugby background and your rugby position. And he described me as having the role of futility back, which is one of the funniest jokes I've heard. And I keep repeating all over. I'm like, yes, I will always be a futility back. Anyway, back in high school, a friend of mine went and spent a summer in New Zealand learning about spelunking, of all things. And he came back and he said to me, David, there's only two things you need to know. The only sport that matters in the world is rugby, and New Zealand are the best at it. And also, you're going to want to buy a swan dry at some point. Over the years, I was always sort of secretly searching for rugby, but of course, you only find it's like 2:30 a.m. and you come home and you put on ESPN 4 and there's a random rugby game, and I'm kind of half coherently watching, and there's people holding signs that say "try," and I'm like, try? Don't you mean kill him? Don't you mean dominate?
Don't you mean win?
Don't you mean win? So anyway, fast forward 10 or 11 years. I was very, very lucky to be working with somebody who, it turns out, just happened to be a USA Hall of Famer. Jan Rutkowski scored a try against England in our opening inaugural Women's World Cup victory over England. By the way, I can never fail to not say that. So, of course, I just started bugging the crap out of her and peppering her with stupid questions.
Hi, Jan. I know you're listening.
She was always happy to answer and stuff. And, and that was back when ESPN Plus was carrying Super Rugby. So that was my kind of gateway. As I said, so 10 or 11 years later, I'm a founding member of the New England Free Jacks, a season ticket holder. I'm soon to wrap up the 4th season of my podcast, The Scrum of the Earth, and I'm just a bigger fan than ever. I feel like it'd be smart to start with some news. Julia, do you want to get us started there? So there's a huge number of USA Eagles playing overseas. You typically have your finger on the pulse. What have you been hearing lately?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We do have a ton of people playing overseas. Of course, I would be remiss not to mention that, most importantly, we have WER Women's Elite Rugby now here stateside, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Over in the PWR, which is the main one where we have USA players, there's been a lot of movement. There's always a lot of movement in the off season, and especially right before and right after World Cup, you're going to see a lot of movement. In terms of news for us, I've just got a few quick ones to run down. Especially because of running up on the World Cup right now, there's not a ton of other news other than movements, re-signings, stuff like that. Right. In a few episodes from now, and especially after the World Cup, we'll have a lot more to talk about. But for now, I can just say, banging right down the list. First of all, we've got Kimai Sagapolu, which is a big one. She is moving to Loughborough from Leicester, which is a big move.
Loughborough fan right here. I'm seeing
as a Loughborough fan, that was why I had to start it off. It's great news. And more great news for Loughborough is that Alev re-signed, Bulo Matai-Tonga re-signed, Catherine Treader re-signed. All of those are big ones. And I know that I am missing 2 more. And I meant to get them and didn't, my bad. Another big one is Kristen Bitter has signed at Leicester Tigers, which is a big deal. She's kind of more of a fringe player, hadn't been in the PWR before, so that's a big move. Other big ones that we've got are Tess Fury re-signing at Leicester as well, which is great for them because Leicester Tigers is having a lot of problems. But
luckily, there a better name? Is there a better name than Tess Fury?
Tess Fury, I know, fantastic. And I was thinking about it because both her mom and her dad played as well. We have our own Sophie Goody, I'm just saying. But yeah, her parents played as well. And it has to be like, you have to keep the last name no matter what. And finally, Paige Stathopoulos, who is kind of coming in and out of the side, obviously under Catherine Treader at the 2 shirt, has left Trailfinders. We're not sure where she's going yet, but I would be surprised if she doesn't go somewhere in the PWR. Otherwise, we are waiting to hear on a bunch of re-signings. There may or may not be movements. I have my own theories about who may end up recommitting to playing stateside. It's a conversation that's happening a lot in women's rugby right now, especially in the face of the EQP requirements at the PWR, which is English qualified player.
Right.
Just a very quick rundown. The PWR has requirements for each team to have 60% English qualified players on every game sheet, which is making everybody else who plays in the PWR who is not English qualified reconsider. Obviously, the closer you are to England, the more likely you are to stay. The Welsh aren't really leaving. The Scottish aren't really leaving. But Americans, Australians, Kiwis are coming in and out. And I think we can talk about it when we get to WER, but I think with the success that we saw with WER and the chances and investment that we have seen and stuff like the Michelle Kang money, I do think that there's some reconsideration because of the huge upset that it is to go play overseas, especially in the PWR. Yeah. I think that there is a lot of thinking happening, especially for folks who have either partners or like really close family that is still here, and the options that WER now provides with that living wage. So
it's a fear that I have a feeling we're going to end up, all of us, talking about, very much going forward, because I only recently kind of lifted the lid on the wages in the WER and what this structure is actually like. And of course you have to go to the PWR. Of course you have to go somewhere else. Like,
unfortunately,
it's rough, but anyway, we're working it out. Nick, did you have anything to add to the news? I'm sorry, did I cut you off beforehand?
Oh, no, I was saying, please, I would love any news from Nick.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if Nick has anything else to add too. We kind of counted on Julia, so if not, that's totally good.
Yeah, so the only real news is the USA Eagles men are doing their squad announcement as we're recording.
I know, we really picked a bad time. And as right when we were about to sign on, Nick was like, by the way,
that's okay. We've got our finger on the pulse. We're timely.
So we'll do a deep dive into that next week.
Yeah.
Are there any names you're excited to see or any shockers? That's all I'd ask you right now.
Thomas Pittman at fly half is...
that was our shocker.
A bit confusing to me. I think he's going to Anthem next year, but right now he's playing in a league below Pro D2 over in France.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to expect from him. I know that we'll probably have AJ McGinty as our 10 throughout.
That was what I assumed, but
we're getting very close to the end of the AJ reign. I think it's got to be, right? Like between the injuries and just the age, like, come on.
Both of those are true, but also he's currently playing. I don't know. He's still playing stellar. I don't know what to say. Like, you're right.
He's had a resurgence this year. The nuttiest team in the world, Bristol. He's the lead nut.
I don't have to go there right now. Yeah, lead nut.
It's funny too. Like, for a long time, I would love to hear what you guys say about this. AJ McGinty is one of our greatest USA players. It's undeniable. Like, he's been a stalwart. He puts himself in too many dangerous situations. When you see him playing for his club, he's like, and I actually think it's because he plays for the USA, where he's like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do everything. I have to do these extra things because I don't know if I trust my teammates around me. And it leads him to do the same things at the club level. He tries too many tackles. He's on the ground too often for a 10. And I just wonder, am I way off on that? Like, AJ seems like he's putting himself in a bad position for that to play fly F.
So the best explanation I have for AJ McGinty for the US is from soccer. Do any of y'all follow Liverpool?
Oh, I don't follow Liverpool except for that I'm thrilled with the win because, of course.
Yeah. So there's a guy named Andy Robertson who's their kind of all-world fullback. And he also plays for Scotland, which is not very good.
I follow a lot of women's soccer, and I'm just going to do this right now.
Tries to do
A lot.
everything, and in the process ends up making more mistakes than he normally would while playing for Scotland.
That's exactly my feeling.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's my feelings on the current AJ.
And I love him. I don't want to criticize him because we need him.
Absolutely.
But like,
Because we need him. But
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was saying but, and then exactly what you were implying.
Well, when we look at where the USA is on the world stage at the moment, it's not great, frankly. Worldwide, for our women, the top four are England, Canada. That kind of gets me excited to say every time. And of course, then New Zealand and France. 4 teams stand between France and our Eagles, who are currently 9th, just a few points ahead of Wales. On the men's side, the top 4 teams are South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, and France, with Argentina close behind. Our men are currently 15th, behind teams like Japan and Samoa, but ahead of teams like Spain, Portugal, and Uruguay, all teams who have given us trouble in recent years. Nick, do you feel like those rankings are pretty accurate? Like, how are you feeling about the USA Eagles men, at least right now, as we're discussing them?
This is a bit of a hard one because I'd say right now we're in the rankings ahead of Spain, but I think that match that's coming up between the US and Spain is going to probably see us get a bit of a pasting from the Spanish.
I
completely agree, 100%.
Hot take of the night.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is lukewarm at best. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who disagree. I don't know anybody who disagrees with you. That's unanimous. That's unanimously what I've heard. And honestly, it mirrors. Not that it's the only reference that I have, but it mirrors what's happening at the women's as well. I think in terms of the organization.
All 3 of those teams, Spain, Portugal, and Uruguay. I think any of those 3 teams could take our men on any given day, and probably most of the time.
I'd say Portugal and Uruguay would be closer. I think Spain is quite a few steps above.
Interesting.
In terms of their rugby Europe championship performance, you can tell. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to agree when you saw the REC performance.
No, it's true. It's true. But Julia, same question. You and I were both bitterly disappointed with our performance in the Pacific 4 series for our women. Like, how are you feeling about the state of rugby for the USA for the women?
I'm personally at a crossroads with where it is right now. I do still have a bit of optimism about it. I still stand behind Sione, the newish coach. There are a lot of structural problems to address. They haven't shied away from saying that. I've actually gleaned a lot of great information from Tess Fury's Rugby Pass column. She's been outlining a lot of the structural changes that have been made, both good and bad. And I mean, obviously, they are colored by her experience.
By the way, if her column isn't called Fury Road, I don't know what's wrong with the world.
Oh my God. I'm going to talk to Francisco at Rugby Pass. Francisco Isaac, friend of the Julia, hopefully pod one day, friend of the Julia. He has been working a lot on that as well. But back to the question at hand. I am extremely fortunate that I'm going to be at the July 19th game here in DC. I am very curious what I'm going to see. Luckily, it's a doubleheader. I'm going to watch the men and the women. I really look forward to giving you guys what I end up seeing. Hopefully, I'm hoping to capture some footage as well. Yeah, I'm stoked. Luckily, you guys are going to be able to report back on how the new partnership with CBS is working, or Paramount Plus. I don't know which it's going to be. They announced that new partnership with CBS/Paramount Plus. It happened like a day or two before the last women's match, the one in Kansas City, and ended up that so many of us couldn't watch it. But that said, they then recently announced that the next men's match was going to be back on the Rugby Network. Anyway, all of that said, if everybody can watch it, what I am really looking for is an enhanced performance against Fiji. Fiji is a team that I think should be a more on par challenge. There's no way around it, and I talked about it on your other podcast already about the performance against Japan. It simply wasn't good enough. I know that they outlined pretty extensively what they felt was wrong, and that's great. Acknowledging your problem is half the battle. What I am disappointed with so far is the follow through.
You could argue it's the easy half of the battle.
And that's the thing, is that it really is easy, especially if you are in a place where, and both of our USA sides are right now, where you have to be able to swallow your bad performances. And also to be in a place where you are ready to dissect your performances and judge losses in a way that isn't always just, we sucked, we're bad, we can't get any better. We can't do that anymore. And I feel like USA, for both sides, have done that for a while. I think the self-pity, in my opinion, that we have felt and that we have displayed ultimately won't serve us, especially running up to this World Cup. I'm really curious. I think Fiji is going to explain a lot. I really wish that I had already seen this Fiji match so I could give a better opinion, but that's going to be the next challenge that will actually be a good litmus test.
Both of you have spent time, kind of combing through the finer details of rugby and spent time coaching rugby. Is it fair to say that the USA Eagles men, maybe one of their biggest problems is they're a 50-minute team and maybe our women's team is a 60-minute team? Is that fair, or is that way too reductive?
Yeah, there's a lack of depth, which I'm hoping the continued support for MLR, the continued and new support for WER will raise that up over the next several years by the time we host the World Cup. But until that depth is really there, we're going to be about where we are.
I don't see much progress. It's that I think that might be the thing that's frustrating me the most with the USA right now. Julia, I think you're muted.
My mistake. I was fixing my microphone earlier. Yeah, I think you're spot on. That was what I was saying earlier. Sorry. I think Nick is completely spot on. That's exactly right. And really, you are going to have to look to MLR and WER to kind of like mystic divine what may or may not be coming up, and like how much hope you can put into the future. We know that we nurture domestic talent to an extent. What we're finding, and we were talking about it offline right before we started recording, is that unfortunately at this time, our absolute best talents have to go elsewhere. For the men, this is slightly more overcomable than it is for the women because they don't have to go as far. But the big problem that we have in America, and first of all, geographically, it's a huge country. Even if everybody could stay here, it's very hard to get all of us together. Headquarters is in Colorado. Okay. Everybody can't live in Colorado. It's very expensive. Well, but that is really one of the big problems. And then
you have to own a mountain bike. There's all sorts of things.
You have to be a runner, even if you're in the front row.
You have to be into oxygen.
Yeah, oh my God. And getting it really hard. Apart from all of that, it is very hard to develop talent when you can't have it together all the time. And not to excuse ourselves that much, but when you look at the countries that have the most success and that have the tightest developments, putting France and South Africa mostly aside, even for men and women, England, Scotland, Wales, all of these places, New Zealand, Australia, that are very easy to have everybody together all the time. You can have all the talent in the world, and in America,
Perth in Western Australia might be on the phone with you right now, being like,
but
hello?
Actually, right, you would think, but then when you talk to development officers in Australia, they will tell you one of the biggest problems that they have is when they find really good talent in Perth, and what happens is almost always is they relocate.
Yeah.
America, I won't go off. I've done it a million times on Scrummer of the Earth. I won't go off too hard on this, but because of some unique challenges that you face as an American, playing a sport, doing any sort of job whatsoever, we do not, no matter what, have health insurance. If you quit your job, you lose your health insurance. You can't just pick up and move. Most people under a certain age
this
don't
is a great point you've
anymore.
mentioned you've mentioned this on the Treehouse, and I think a lot of our listeners in the UK especially don't understand that.
No,
it's hard to underestimate that.
It really is. And I understand that health insurance, for example, is one thing that's easy to brush away when you're young, which is great. However, when you are going through your career, you do have to start thinking about it. And, I think about some of the stories that I am a Wales fan. I'm a big Wales women's fan. I knew you'd like that. I am a big Wales women's fan. I used to even have a Welsh rugby podcast. But I think about Alicia Butchers, which was one of the early catalysts. Couldn't get her support for her ankle surgery from either Wales or the Bears because they both kept playing hot potato with her contract, and ended up kind of like not being able to find a surgeon for like a year. Now, that's one thing. They have the NHS still. She didn't want to burden them because it was COVID. But oh my God, we don't have that. We don't have it at all. And now that we're moving into, we want to professionalize everybody. In order to do that, in order for rugby to be your job in America, it has to be a place that offers you, for example, health insurance. Relocation costs would be great. We know they don't, especially for MLR. They're not providing relocation costs. All sorts of things. There is a higher barrier to entry in America, and that's kind of where I always want to start with people who are new to American rugby. Is that it's not simply a question of, is America a rugby nation? Because yes, we are. Come on. Yes, we are. What we are, however, is a nation that is different, other than Canada, from everyone else who competes at a high level.
Yeah. Along with the insurance issue and us just being huge.
Also, 2 of our best rugby players are from Alaska. Do you know how far away that is from Colorado? Anyway, sorry, go on.
Very far for our British listeners who may think that Swansea and Cardiff are far away.
Who say that? Oh my God, he's so right. You're so right. And they say that they hate getting in the car for 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
Nothing in Texas is less than 45 minutes away from anything else.
From anything. From the grocery store.
Exactly.
It's closer to get to Mexico City from where I am than it is to El Paso.
Oh, El Paso. Okay. I wasn't sure where in the South you were, but I was going to say probably to San Antonio.
I'm in San Antonio. Yeah. It's closer to Mexico City from San Antonio than it is to El Paso.
You can drive for, what is it, Kolya, 2.5 days in Texas?
Yes.
2.5 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
when you get there, you're not going to like it.
And when you get there, it's desert.
Yes. And along with that, you've also got a massive barrier to entry in our nation's understanding of everything is pay to play at the youth level.
Absolutely. 100%. You're absolutely right.
So for a school to have a, say, high school rugby team, they're probably going to assess a fee to the student or to the parents that they're going to have to pay. But then they're also going to have to pay USA Rugby
to register and your equipment and your proof of insurance.
Yes.
Which immediately, by the way, negates anybody who is from a lower income household.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Bar none.
The Free Jacks, I just want to say, are doing a great job of outreach on this level too, where they're going to the Boys and Girls Clubs in Dorchester and the lower income neighborhoods, and they bring a bag of balls with them, and they're like, there was a bag of balls program where they're like, if your school wants us to come up and bring a bunch of professional players and bring you some equipment, we'll just do it. It's free. Tell us.
But even still,
the Houston SaberCats.
I was just going to say, but even still, and we could even do a socioeconomic study in just the story that you just told, because Massachusetts, compared to where I live in Virginia, Texas, in terms of the access that people already have and the income disparity and
Right.
the wealth inequality that you will see depending on where you are. If you're in a city, if you're right outside of a city, if it's a wealthy city.
Yep.
San Antonio and El Paso, 2 cities that Kolya just named. Very different experiences if you want to try to break into a sport that isn't basically just soccer or football, American football. Even just accessing a sport other than, and hockey is another big one. Just getting a foot in the door is something that I feel like international listeners don't necessarily always understand.
It's really such a different animal. Like, as somebody who knew nothing about it and came in cold, and I didn't have anyone around me saying, "Oh yes, hey, let me help you understand what you're looking at while you're watching a Super Rugby game at 2 a.m." Like, I thought the biggest disparities were terminology. It's like, well, they say into touch and we say out of bounds, in, out. Like, there's a million things like that. And I used to think those were the fundamental
versus
differences.
cleat.
Yeah, but the differences that put us at a disadvantage or keep us down in world rankings, I think, are not related to that at all.
There is no shortage of athletic talent in America, and there is no shortage of will to be good at this sport. And you can tell by the way
and
that we
people want to throw a lot of money at it. There's people with money who want to throw a lot of money at it.
And this is what I'm really excited to talk about on this podcast, because I feel like one thing that we have in American rugby that most other rugby nations don't have is that we do have our kind of, and I hate to say this with a real Texan on the line, we do have a bit of a cowboy mentality, but I say this in a really complimentary way, because it's a thing that frustrates me a lot. In fact, I'm glad you're here because I talk about it a lot about Welsh rugby, is the willingness to throw money at a hunch.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like that is the one thing that we really have. And I feel that the bronze medal is a testament to that. And Michelle Kang agreed with me and dropped 4 million because she really liked what she saw. And the thing is, you can do that more. Point. There isn't only one. There is a lot of it. And I feel like this is the non-evil half of the Rugby 360 idea. Now, throw all that away because that's incredibly evil. That's all haunted. But imagine just putting a bunch of money in and being like, you know what? I saw you had good ideas. Take this. You know what to do with it. I don't know. I'm a billionaire. I mostly do soccer. I don't know. Go do it. And we build stuff. Sometimes, and I hate to say it, but sometimes we see not so great things happen. We saw it with the various teenies in MLR. Sometimes it doesn't work. However, sometimes
that was close to home.
I know, but I only bring it up because sometimes it does work, and you have to do those sorts of things to learn. I don't think that it's a mistake.
Yes, and with the AGs, that they had so many good things going.
So many good ideas.
They were a good team.
It's not worth throwing it away just because ultimately something else happened. Those ideas are great. And I feel like that is something that we have in America, where we love to take pieces of good ideas and be like, I look at WER for this, because WPL, which was its predecessor, was completely amateur, but it had a lot of good ideas. The only problem was the big barrier to entry, which was the pay to play. And WER said, we're going to do the best that we can to try to get near a living wage. And a lot of people said, great, I'll come home. And they did.
Well, Kolya, Julie just mentioned the cowboy effect. The vast majority of my family is from Texas. I've spent a ton of time there.
I also have a bunch of family in Texas. We love you.
And none of them do I think of as cowboys at all. What was your reaction to that
I have
comment?
a bunch of Jews in Houston. I don't think of them as cowboys.
Houston?
Houston, thank you. I didn't know if I could.
No worries. Yeah.
Do you feel connected with that cowboy idea that Julia mentioned at all?
I'm
Nick?
curious what you think of rugby in Texas.
So my larger local team, San Antonio, has an armadillo as its logo.
I love that.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. I'm actually going to tell my friends when we get off.
The city basically shuts down for a month over the radio.
Yep.
Like,
oh yes.
And talking about the AGs when they were here, the AGs, the Austin Gilgronis, but no one called
No,
them.
no, nor did they call them the
Yeah.
the Giltinis. No.
They had a great little setup at Circuit of the Americas.
Right.
They basically had a theme park set up before the game. So even if you weren't going to go to the match, you could meet rugby players, have your kids play
Fantastic.
this wheel,
Yeah.
an armadillo, because they had like an armadillo petting zoo. And
I mean,
I
when it comes to
think that-
when it comes to
I think that the
armadillos,
sport is-
once you pet one, you've kind of pet them all.
yeah,
Don't tell them that. They work really hard on that armor.
yes.
Okay, I want to kind of bring us back together. Back here at home on the domestic front, we had the opening round of the MLR playoffs and the final round of the WER. Nick, do you want to walk us through this weekend's action? I've got the scores here, but I think you've got them as well.
Yes, so I'll start with the WER. And we had the Breakers against the Onyx. This match
Oh my God, the Onyx are so good. It's crazy.
started.
We'll talk about that another episode. I have a whole spiel.
Started as a bit of a laugher, and it
Always does.
42-17 to Denver for the Onyx. 42.
Yep. Yep.
There were some pretty good tries in this match. I don't know what's happened with the broadcasting with WER.
I can give a really brief one on that. As far as we were told by the organization, there has been a bit of and I don't know because I'm not in the room, but WR was not happy with Dazen's work. There were hiccups ultimately every match.
To be fair, it was still better than the MLR matches. Most
it was still better, right? And so that's how I felt about it. I was kind of surprised that they ended up cutting ties. I'm not sure about the back office stuff, but I do have a friend on one of the WER teams who's finding out for me. So I'm hoping to have it for our next episode. But I have been asking, and of course it's safer for her if she just waits till her season is over. So we're just gonna wait for that. But I do hope to have a little bit of information there. The good side of it is that what they decided to do is to just live stream field coverage straight to the WER website.
Which has still been exciting and compelling. I've enjoyed it.
It has been exciting and compelling. Unfortunately, it's a bit harder to bring new fans in when there's no commentary.
Sure.
That has been my experience so far with it. But that said, I've made a few new fans, especially out of soccer fans, who are still tuning in and trying and following along, which is great. But that said, the official line is that they may rebuild the connection with Dazzlin. They said TBD. At this point, I trust them because I think that their interest is putting together. So here's what I think. I think the WER followed very closely in the PWHL's footsteps, which is our professional women's hockey league here in America,
which has been
and
great.
Canada, which has been phenomenal. It's a fantastic league. It's been tremendously successful. I
don't even like hockey, and I love that league. I'm considering buying merch. Like, I'm not going to go.
I've gotten
but I want to buy the merch.
I've gotten really into it. Their broadcasting has really been second to none. Actually, that's not true. Second to one, and it's the WNBA, which has a ton of money. But PWHL has been making a lot out of a little, which is, I think, what WER was looking at. The company that they hired to set up a lot of the branding is it the company that does the branding for the Red Roses. So I think they came here. I know that they came here. They looked around, especially at PWHL because they're most recently launched. They decided that the quality and the perception of the product was so important that they would rather not risk it in the beginning because, in fairness, like we've been talking about, investment is so important. And I don't, if I were in the leadership position, I'm not sure I would have cut ties with Dazzlin so soon. But this is the first season. We'll see. I really shouldn't have talked so long on it. The answer is they did it for perception. We're hoping that it's the right thing to do. We stand behind them because we know that they want to put forth a really great product, and we really want to make a name for ourselves among stuff like the UK.
Mm. Well, Nick, I
We'll
think
see.
we both interrupted you there. You were in the middle of.
I'm so sorry.
You had given us the Onyx score.
So 42-17 to the Onyx. They have clinched a spot in the final.
They have.
Yes, indeed.
We
We're
knew
waiting
that
to find
in
out.
week 3, though, I think.
Yes. Or at least that it was coming.
We have something to talk about. It's not for this episode, but we have something to talk about how that, for sure.
Yeah. Then we had the New York Exiles against the poor Chicago Tempest. New York won 43-14.
Oh, Exiles.
Chicago is
on my shows, I generally call them the New York team that nobody likes, nobody cares about. Just so you know.
I know.
Yeah, that's their unofficial name.
Yeah. So the Chicago Tempest, I was just in Chicago last week and met a
I feel
few.
so bad because the team has such great vibes.
So bad for them.
I know,
Yeah.
but the team has such good vibes. Like, I still cheer for them, even though I know what's going to happen.
Yes.
But
It feels, without the commentary, if you just put the Benny Hill theme on.
That's harsh but fair. It's harsh but fair.
That's a Chicago Tempest match.
That's the Chicago Tempest.
Let's say there's only one way to go from here. They're only going to get better. It's literally
That's right.
impossible.
It's like Anthem in the MLR.
Listen.
Nick, do you want to go through the MLR scores as well? Because I'm pretty aware of one of them at least.
So we've got one more
wants
for
to hear.
the WER.
That's right. There was a third match. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh my God, David.
There was the Banshees and the Gemini. This one ended 12-15 in favor of the Banshees. And this one.
Why would you not want to hear that?
Yes.
I got excited about my Free Jacks. I'm sorry. I got ahead of the fact, but yeah. We needed this win so much.
Kolya, please put him out of his misery. Put him out of his misery. Please talk about the Free Jacks.
So let's talk MLR, and do you want to start with the Canadian Free Jacks?
The Canadian Free Jacks. You could talk about OGDC if you want.
Yeah. So Chicago
Go ahead.
was our first game. This one was, or the score and the statistics do not match at
Interesting.
all.
You are really hedging. Go on.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
Chicago won 27-16, but they more than doubled the amount of tackles of DC.
Wow.
They had
Usually that's the other way around.
35% possession and territory throughout the match.
Wow. By the way, for listeners, where are you getting these stats? It's hard. The MLR website, much like the WER website, both of them are notoriously under-updated.
There's another.
Everybody outside of America complains about this, by the way.
Yeah.
Another MLR website called MLR Stats Hub.
Oh, is this James Dealey's thing or is this something else?
No, this is through Major League Rugby. This is it's stats.majorleague.rugby.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh, and it really rolls off the tongue.
Yes, and you have to have an account in order to look at this.
Yeah, I was gonna say we really like to make it easy.
/2 hashtags /Q.
Yes, /real/HTML.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was HTML.
Oh,
sorry.
No, crashed.
Yeah, at the end of the first half, DC had 76% territory.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what
Wow.
happened. I understand what happened.
Yes.
It's not important how it happened.
I mean, are Chicago good? Should I be worried about this coming weekend?
So over the last few weeks,
I don't want to
had the emergence of
You're such a dick.
Wall, who unfortunately got hurt at the end of this match. So I don't know if he's going to play or not.
I would advise him to take it easy. Like your body, you only get one.
He said, don't push it.
Yeah. So moving on to the Canadian Free Jacks, which is what the commentators kept calling them.
Really?
Oh, okay. I thought that. Okay, see, I thought that was a stab that you had too many Canadian players, and I was like, I don't actually remember that many Canadians. Okay,
No,
we have a lot.
You have a lot, but not.
We robbed the arrows.
You have a lot, but it's not
Canadian players.
Go on.
Because they have a few Canadian players. They're like,
no, thank you.
This is
Canadians and Namibians are our kind of best kind of thing.
Welcome to Quincy, the 8th province of Canada. Things like that throughout the match.
Wow.
I love them throwing shade like that, especially while we're winning and absolutely slamming them down.
That's really creative shade, though.
I know. I like
really like them to start calling it like Windhoek or something for the video, but it's fine.
But that would be a great shout. But you both might love, of course, Q, our starting hooker, who's Canadian international and an incredible guy. We like to say how he's so Canadian, he's Californian. Like his Canadian accent is so exaggerated that he sounds Californian. It's really great.
Yeah. So
mangling those vowels.
Other than ESPN's insistence on the Canadian thing, the one major takeaway from this, other than that the Free Jacks act like they're Leinster, is, or in just steamrolling whoever they're playing.
So
is
no way. I need to finish.
Should I just let you two?
Finally,
am I done? Are you done with me?
The Free Jacks. Throughout Miami's short-lived history, they had never scored a try against the Free Jacks. In the second half,
oh yeah, that's
Scarlet's legend Kirby Myhill scored a try.
Oh, that's right. Also, we were 2-0 at home against the Sharks and 0-2 away against the Sharks. So this was a very nerve-wracking game as somebody who was there. And but
ended 32-10.
I'm profoundly offended to be associated with Leinster. It's not like we have a different salary cap.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, we can't.
It really caught me in a weird way.
Jordy Barrett's not coming over here. Archie Snyman's not coming over.
We're gonna get the best Barrett. We're gonna get him.
If we get Scott Barrett, I'll be perfectly happy with that. But
we'll take any Barrett. That actually, you know what? No, that sums up American. We'll take any Barrett.
Yes.
So, Julia and I keep interrupting Nick.
I'm so sorry. I need to shut
There's
up.
more results here.
So New England won that one 32-10.
We did.
Then on Saturday night, we had Utah versus Seattle. First half was domination by Utah. They nilled Seattle in the first half. Seattle scored 3 tries in the second half. And Utah
almost
scraped through 23-21.
I call them the rugby team of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
They are at the
Latter-day
Saints Bank Stadium or
something. It's gotta be.
It's at Zion's Bank Stadium, I think it's called.
Zion's Bank.
Oh my God.
Zion's Bank. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Why are all of the teams in Utah so cursed? It's fine. It's not my business.
I can think of a couple of reasons.
So can I.
And then we had the final MLR match of the weekend, which ended up being played yesterday because we got rain in Texas and
I was gonna say, and everybody had to marvel.
And the pitch flooded. So
I'm sorry, but that's really an indictment on Texas.
It's the most Texas. To be fair, not a lot of ground soil. Not a lot of ground soil in Texas.
Not a lot of topsoil.
Houston sometimes actually gets rain.
It's true. Sometimes too much.
Yes.
Some might argue too much.
But this time, Houston had a waterlogged pitch, moved it to Monday at 6 p.m. And
when you want to see your rugby,
which is when you want to watch rugby, especially in Houston with the traffic in Houston.
I was going to say everybody is mad.
Yes. So compared to the other 3 games, which had pretty good attendances, watching this one,
dog shit.
No one was there.
Yeah, but they won.
And they missed
a
fun game. because this one had
That's the thing.
this one because of the wet pitch, because it was still
This match has everything.
there it was a bit of a mess, punctuated by two magic kicks, one from Houston and one from LA, that I'd suggest everyone watch on the highlights, especially
I'd take that. I'd absolutely watch that.
especially
Hell yeah.
plane try for LA.
I wonder, is this the most American match that's ever been played?
Well, we did have LSU great Drake Davis on the wing for Houston.
Oh, wow. By the way, I was at the MLR final when we defeated San Diego in Chicago, where the DJ on hand, of course, was Shaquille O'Neal, also LSU.
Yes.
So, and by the way, when Shaq came out, they had him bring out the game ball to hand to somebody, and the size of the game ball in Shaquille O'Neal's hand, the whole crowd was like, "Oh my God!
Yeah.
Why is this guy? Why isn't he playing 8 right now?"
Yeah. And this match ended 27-21 in favor of Houston, largely because LA's lineout did not exist.
Right.
Every single lineout throw missed its target from LA. Every single one missed its target.
And to
That's
be
a front
fair,
rower.
they've been much better than they should have been. Miami and LA both making the playoffs this year. That's really good. That shows progress. Like I'm willing to let Anthem kind of languish and be nothing while the other, because they have a different purpose. Sort of their MO is different. I don't know. I thought this was a good way for this weekend to go. At some point, sorry, go ahead.
The four best teams won.
I think so. At least mine was. Though to be fair, all year, we've been waiting for Jason Patras to come back. Last weekend he comes back. I got to see him in the stadium. I got to chat with him for a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, I'm really excited." 50 minutes in, gets hurt, he's out. And he's not going back. He's not going back to Waikato.
Yeah, I do want one final little thing for these matches. Iskro, DC's prop, played the full 80 and probably should have been man of the match.
That's a good
I'll take
shout.
that.
So on our Free Jacks, we have a young fullback named Brock Webster. He's got great hair. So the two people on my left in the stadium are non-rugby people who just love sports. They go to Boston area sports. And the two people on my right are active current college rugby coaches, both of whom's wives are also coaching college. And so, but they're haters. They don't like Kyle Sequeira, like one of our classic Free Jacks, like a homegrown guy. They're always like, "Kyle, you're too fat. Kyle, try not to knock it on. Oh, he knocked it on." Like they're rough. And at one point, I was watching Brock Webster, and I was like, "Hey guys, but Brock Webster, remind me, where did we get him from?" And they were like, "Somewhere he should go back to." And I was like, "Oh, dip." But in there, to be fair, this weekend we show up, those guys sat down, and they were like, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something." We were bagging on Brock Webster and saying how he was not good and he should go back to wherever he came from. From the moment we said that, he's been on fire, and I'm really glad we have him now. And it was just like we all
Glad he didn't go
came together.
back to where he came from.
Exactly.
Oof.
Which is I'm pretty sure Canada, but either way. I mean, we started to call them Statler and Waldorf. Like, they just want to say mean things and stuff. But like, I've now started to lean into picking their brains as we're watching, where I'm asking them questions about, like, when they complain about something, instead of just letting it go, I'm like, "Well, you're a coach. What would you have said to your players in that moment and stuff?" And like, it's created a new level that I'm really enjoying. So anyway, Brock Webster.
Very good.
At some point, I'm gonna bug Harley and do exactly what he does and create a beautiful spreadsheet. But for now, I'm just gonna write it down. What are our predictions? The WER is off this weekend. They're getting ready for the Legacy Cup. It's going to be so good. But what are our predictions for the MLR this weekend? We're looking at my Free Jacks hosting the Second City Pupsters and the rugby team of Latter-day Saints, the Utah Warriors. Well, they'll be hosting the Thundercats of Houston. I'm shocked that Houston weren't hosting that one, but who wants to go first? What are your predictions for this coming weekend?
I don't have any, so I'm just going to pass it off. I should have looked this up.
All you have to say is how much the Free Jacks will win by.
How much the Free Jacks will win by? 2.
I'll take it.
I'm sure it's going to be way more. I don't know. Is DC playing?
No, they got knocked out.
Oh, well, they would have won. So how about that? I'm just making stuff up. Ignore me. Go to Kolya. He knows.
Nick, how much are my Free Jacks going to beat the Puppies by?
Free Jacks by 8 if Peyton Wall doesn't play Free Jacks by 16.
Okay, I'm actually going with that. I like that a lot more.
I do like that. I'm putting it in parentheses.
Despite me having a soft spot for Chicago because I go up there every year.
That's my thing, is that I have so much family in Chicago and I absolutely love the city. It's my second favorite city in America. I just
My brother went to grad school in Chicago. We went to see him there a bunch of times. It's such a great city. I love it there. And they're America's sweetheart. Everyone wants Chicago to be a good team.
I was going to say, the thing is that, like, they're so hard to dislike.
Yeah. Their vibe is good.
They brought dogs to their playoff match.
Exactly.
They had what are you going to do? Root against the dogs?
Exactly. When I went to the final,
you hate puppies?
Their team wasn't even playing, and yet they had the mascot there. They had all the accoutrement from like the normal atmosphere of a game day. Yeah. It was so great. Like, of course we have to love them. My brother went to school at Northwestern, and like, how could you not love Chicago? Everyone's been expecting them to be better than they are. I hope Saturday is not the day when that happens, because we're without Jason Patras and we need a win. By the way, Julia, remember a couple weeks ago when USA Rugby spelled the country New Zealand wrong in their own official advertising?
That's right. It's disrespect. It puts them on their toes.
They spell that was it. We spelled Paula Balakana, our try-scoring leader winger. We spelled his name wrong on the big screen at the beginning of the game in a playoff match.
Keeps him humble.
Guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that we've got our predictions in. In our chat, we did talk about predictions for the Legacy Cup final. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Utah versus Houston. We didn't even talk about it. I was too obsessed with my Free Jacks.
Sounds right.
Then Utah Houston, I'm gonna go Sabercats by 4. Drake Davis gets a try.
I was also only ever going to go for Houston if they're playing anybody other than DC. I love Houston as a city.
And what's your margin, Julia?
Oh,
Houston by...
Okay. We're expecting a lot of me. 10. Unless that guy plays, and then it's more or less. I don't know. I mean, I'll text Nick.
No, it's just... I'm shocked that Utah are hosting this game. Like, Utah were so in my perception, Utah were so up and down this year, and Houston were like boom, boom, boom,
Last
boom,
time
boom.
I was really checking in, Utah was not doing great, so I was surprised to learn.
Very
Utah
strange.
Had been on this try-scoring binge.
Oh,
well, that sounds nice. I wish we could be on
that. Incredibly. Oh, by the way, so I think we've all agreed we're going to save the Legacy Cup for the WER.
Yeah, let's save.
Because incredibly, the Eagles, women and men, both have serious fixtures to look forward to this summer. Julia, can you give us a rundown of what we're looking at internationally over the next couple of months, and how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one short because I know we're running a bit over. So what we've got next, we've got on July 19th, we've got the doubleheader that I was mentioning earlier. The women are playing Fiji. The men are playing England. Huge asterisk. It will probably be more like an England A. But anyway, for the women, we've got that one. And then the other warm-up that we have is August 1st, which is Canada versus USA. And that's going to be at TD Place up in Canada. So in terms of what I expect, as I detailed earlier, Fiji is going to be the test that we really want to look at. If you had asked me before the last two matches that we watched, I would probably have a more positive outlook. What I would really like to see is a win. It's not going to be big. It's also going to, I'm going to give a better prediction for an episode in the future when we see the team sheet.
Yep.
I'm curious about what we're going to see for that. And in terms of versus Canada, I'm just going to be honest with it. We're just going to get out of the way. It's going to be a loss. We were told today, actually, this isn't USA Rugby. It's kind of the opposite. But Sophie de Goody is back. She is back on the team sheet. So that's over. So that's over.
Even as a USA fan, it's hard for me to be disappointed by that.
Nobody is would you be mad when Michael Jordan came back?
Exactly.
Like, no. We're
It's
thrilled
like,
she's
I like
back.
this sport, and therefore,
unfortunately, I love rugby, so I love
de
Sophie de Goody. I want to see her play. In fact, gives Nick a run for his money in terms of how many positions she plays. So,
Yes.
all of that said, those are my looking at points. In terms of what we're expecting, I kind of just went over it. Fiji is going to be really a one to watch. It would be really great if USA Rugby could tell us which channel it will be on. But that said, I'm definitely hoping to get us some content for the pod, and I hope to tease that a bit more next time we record.
Nick, any follow-ups? What are you looking forward to for our men? I know we have some fixtures, and then as we were in the lead up, and I was struggling
especially
to
this
get
England
everything
fixture
going.
coming up.
Yeah, this England fixture that who knows. Again, next
how
week,
good a win would that be?
The squad.
If we won that game,
that win would be, be astronomical.
That might be. Anyway,
I want us in that England match to do better than Wales did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really fair. That's actually a really fair benchmark.
That's my
especially considering that England will be lacking all of their lions. If there's ever a time to do it, it will be now.
Yes.
Okay, we've gone longer than we thought. I kind of feel like it's my fault. For our opening show, I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. The USA will be hosting men's and women's World Cups in 2031 and 2033. A lot of questions that'll need to be answered between now and then. Julia, very, very vaguely, how are you feeling about the state of our women's Eagles at the moment? Do you think that we're on track to deliver some results on the global stage in 2033? Are we advancing to a knockout stage?
So here's what I think. I think if there were in the scheme of things, if there were a time that we could get to a knockout stage, it would be then, not this year. I don't think it will be this year. But that said, we are very fortunate starting this podcast when we are, because we're going to learn a lot from this World Cup this year. I feel better about it being 31 for the women. I think there's a better chance then than there is now. I think there is a lot of growth that needs to be done. Nick touched on it earlier. There's a lot of depth that needs to be built, but we are at least setting up the building blocks. I'm trying to be as pragmatic as I can with this, because it's not all doom and gloom. I don't think for the women. I don't think that it's all doom. But the slope
I have
is
so
steep.
much hope, but I feel like we're underperforming, and I don't know what's wrong.
Yes, but I approach this specific question in terms of, like, 4 years is a long time, first of all. We don't even know that we're going to do badly in this World Cup. It's a bit early to determine that we did a bad job already.
It's true.
I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. Our opening match is against the world champions. It's against England. It's going to suck. But you're going to get it out of the way early. We've got a difficult pool. We're probably going to have a difficult pool in 31.
45 to 14 would be a massive win in my mind.
I think that would be one of the best performances probably that we've put on against the Red Roses. So that's fine with me. I'd be thrilled with that. We talked about it. You and I talked about it, I think, probably over a year ago on your podcast at this point, about what I consider a win for USA against England. And it's under 50. Under 50 is where we're looking at. That's what I would like as well. But shorter term, We're looking at the development. We're looking at how you play against Fiji, how you play against Canada. We'll see. I'm just not ready to throw it in for 31. Not to get to anything else other than rugby on the podcast, but hopefully there is a different president at the time. It is easier to travel to America. Hopefully that is the case. That is really my biggest concern.
I'm hoping a lot of things will be different.
I'm hoping a lot of things will be different, but truly my biggest concern honestly is about getting teams in and out and about American players being able to play in other countries in the next few years. So that's what I'm waiting to see. I have a lot of
Kolya, same question effectively. Our men historically have never been as good as our women. Yeah. But what's your level of optimism heading towards 2031? Like, are we on track to deliver some results? I guess the same question is, are we going to win a pool stage game? Is that what constitutes a victory for the USA at that stage?
So I'd say that should be the benchmark for the next World Cup, is to
agreed
on the pool, win a pool stage match, and then from there build on that with the depth that comes from MLR, with the depth that comes from having players playing in the Premiership, in maybe the URC, and see what comes from there. I think we're too far out right now to say you're completely doomed. And I think it's also a little too far to say we can't afford that.
We definitely will. Either.
Yes.
When you look at what historically has been the peak age for when you're best at your rugby career, it's right in that sort of 26 to 28 range, which means our American players are 17 to 19 right now, who we want to see excelling and being our top players in those two Rugby World Cups. And both of you have a much better chance to answer this than I do.
There's a lot of promise in that age range for both the men and the women right now. No question.
Nick, do you agree?
I agree.
That's good news for us, right? Is this a moment when we can feel positive about USA Rugby?
It sucks. It sucks
on 17,000 pods, I've asked people, because the annoying phrase you always hear is, America the sleeping giant of rugby? Is America? And I always think I'm clever and I say, oh yeah, we're the sleeping giant, but we keep hitting the snooze button.
But we have insomnia.
I know. There's so many different. But narcolepsy. It sounds like we're getting close to a place of feeling good. Maybe.
There is a lot of room for upward trajectory right now.
We need MLR to stabilize.
Exactly.
One thing is MLR stabilizing, not losing another team.
Yep.
The next several years, maybe adding a couple in good.
I think WER is incredibly positive too. The first season I think was a raging success.
And I think as is often the case for specifically USA Rugby, I think those two are going to build off of each other. I think that there are a lot of, and for better or for worse, I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned from MLR. We've learned a lot of good and bad things. And I would hope that, not right now, obviously, but I would hope in a season or two that there will be some lessons that MLR can gain, because there's no reason that MLR shouldn't benefit from this as well. I think that the participant teams agree. There's been a ton of support from all of the teams that also have a WER team nearby. I think that there is a lot to learn. I think mistakes that will be made, if we can do it the American way and we can learn from them. I do think it's not going to be the next World Cup for either of us, but you were asking us about the ones that we're going to host. I think that there is a chance.
Yeah. Well, this has been a phenomenal opening to this show. I'm so happy. This is so great to have a chance. Julia, you and I talked about the idea of having an American pod, but often the problem is
I'm so glad we did.
There's just not that much happening in USA Rugby, but there's stuff happening in MLR, and I think it's expanding. Nick, your insights at the level where you're coaching and you have these, hands-on experiences, I think this is going to be great. I'm so happy with this first show. I'm sorry we couldn't, we had AV issues ahead of time. We had slides prepared, or I had slides prepared and they didn't work, so it's really annoying.
It's coming, folks.
But it's coming. And Lee, at the wrap is taking us under his wing. We're going to rely on him for a little bit. Any new listeners who are checking us out for the very first time in our inaugural pod, thank you so much for coming along. Thanks to everyone at the wrap for taking us under their wing and helping us launch the Maul Street Journal. Nick, any final thoughts before we get going and kind of wrap things up until next week?
Yeah, this was great fun. And I did want to bring up one more thing just real quickly. This past weekend, I went to something called Bloodfest in Texas.
You sent a
I
link
know about
it.
Bloodfest.
I apologize. We had a segment built in. We want to do this every week. It's going to be a grassroots segment. And we didn't have, Nick had something, and of course, and I forgot, I was at least going to tease it, and I forgot. Thank you, Nick, so much. Tell us about it.
I just want to bring up Bloodfest. I wasn't able to coach or ref this year just because of few things going on. But I brought my 2 young girls. They had a fun time. Bloodfest is one of those great little success stories in grassroots rugby. It's been going on since 1998.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Going on since 1998. It's a sevens tournament. They had over 40.
Who are the competitors? Is it high schools? Who is it?
So high schools, community, or little like community groups from all over Texas. There were some teams from New Mexico, from Arizona. A few years ago, they had some teams from Iowa. NOLA Gold sent their youth team there.
Oh,
I love that.
That's cool.
I know Oklahoma sometimes goes. I got a friend who plays in Tulsa.
It's just a lot of fun. It's really a big celebration of grassroots rugby in Texas that kind of ends the season in Texas on that date.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Julia, what about you? The first edition of the Maul Street Journal is in the bag. What do you got to tell us to close it down? By the way, what's coming up for the Treehouse?
In terms of the Treehouse, we're on a little break right now. We are finishing our rebrand. We will be coming back a little bit right before the cup starts. We're taking a break just because everything right now is kind of warm-up matches. We'll be hopefully doing a little wrap-up of those as well. TBD there. But no, I'm so thrilled we're doing this. I do think that it's something that the rugby world is missing a little bit. I know there are a lot of voices and very few of them are from America. And I'm really happy you're here, Nick, because Texas is a fantastic rugby state, and it's definitely one that the international community doesn't even really know about. And then you see all of these stars that come out of Texas. You see amazing refs that come out of Texas. There's so much going on there, and I'm so glad you're here. I look forward to learning from you. I mean, I'm going to learn as much as I can from David, but again, he's from Boston. How much can you really learn?
I was going to say, I think you finished that journey like 2 years ago.
I did. I plumbed the depths of what you can learn about Bostonian rugby. No, I'm so glad. Thank you guys so much for having me and for letting me inject women's stuff in.
This has been fantastic. I'm so glad to get to know both of you a little bit better now. You know what? I can't wait to make this thing a habit. I want it to be on Mondays. I think that's our plan generally.
Absolutely.
I think this Monday will be good. We've got stuff coming up. There's USA stuff. There's MLR stuff. There's WER stuff.
We're going to have a lot to talk about.
We're going to have a lot to talk about. And the PWR moves, of course. To both of you, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to talk to you again. It's great to have new rugby friends. Cheers. Talk to you soon. And